What is going on, YouTube? It's TCG Jake here, and basically I am going to tell you why I had to, well, didn't have to, I wasn't like forced out or anything, but why I chose to leave my current workplace. And sorry about the mess behind me. I'm going through stuff to sell, as that's pretty much my main source of income right now. But so try to ignore that. I know it's there. I'm sorry. Plus, I record in my living room. You guys know that. So this is pretty much my life. I have a really small house. Basically, yeah, with no extra room. Basically, what happened was, it started a while back. I had signed up for a position that was higher than the position I was in, and I had been there for 2 years at that point when I signed up for this, and I had worked my butt off, trying to get to that position. Sometimes 10 to 12 hours a day. I was doing stuff that my team leaders do. They asked me, do I want to learn? I was like, of course, yeah. And I told them actually, that I wanted to before, and then they would ask me about different stuff. So I would do it. And then I basically started doing some of the team leader stuff, not all of it, just some of it. And just so y'all know, I come from a background where I was like a manager at a Pizza Hut, moving into the assistant manager position, but turned it down because they were only going to pay me $10 an hour at Pizza Hut. This was a long time ago before I was married, and I was like, no, not for $10 an hour. You can give me 13. But so okay, at the current job I'm at now, I didn't hate it or anything like that. So I worked my butt off trying to get into this team leader position, and I signed up for one. Now, usually, at a place like this, you have to be there for a year or longer to move up into a position, which is normal. But what had happened was, in the specific position I had, they get a lot of, like that I was currently in, they get a ton of turnover. And so what happens is they try not to move people up from that position because, sorry, I have to hold the baby. My wife's sleeping and he's crying. So, they get a ton of turnover in that position. And what happens is they try not to move people out of there as much as possible. And so, that's pretty much what happened. This is where it all started, and it kind of bothered me because, so I did get a raise, and just to be clear, I made quite a bit there. I was making $16.50, and then when I got my raise, I was making $17.25, I believe, which is a lot of money. I know it's quite a bit, and more than most people. But it wasn't about the money for me. It was really about I was working my butt off for this company, and it felt like, yeah, they gave me the raise, but it felt like, but you need to stay here because this is where we want you to stay. And it was kind of hurtful. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe I'm overreacting a little bit to that specific situation, but because I had worked my butt off to try and move up. As far as that goes, baby Micah comes in. This is him, by the way. So to put some background to this, my wife and I were both told we couldn't have children. So, I'm gonna kind of get into some personal stuff here, so if you don't want to hear any of this, click away now. Totally fine. I understand. Might be a little disturbing to you, maybe, or it might hit some nerves. Maybe you've gone through a similar situation. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So, I'm not gonna push religion in this, but my wife and I are both Christian people, and we have been praying for this baby ever since we've been married, actually. So what happened is, we prayed for this baby every day, every Sunday. We went to church. Not that it's all about going to church, but like I said, I'm not going to push religion here. So, oh, it's okay, buddy. So, we prayed for this baby for 3 years. We went to a ton of doctor's appointments, had a ton of testing done. My wife had gone through 2 types of surgeries. Neither of them actually did anything. So one of them was, I can't really explain them because they're kind of iffy for internet stuff. So I'll just tell you this. I had low count, and according to the doctor who did one of her surgeries, she had underdeveloped fallopian tubes, which means no sperm could get through, basically, is what happened. So we were trying for 3 years. That was probably about 2 years and a half when we finally made it to that point. After that, we started saving for, and this is important to the story, so just try to stay along. But after that, we were decided to save for IVF because we knew this isn't going to work out, okay? And we had talked about adoption. My wife was not too keen on adoption quite yet, so she wanted to do IVF. We made an agreement that after we have our first baby through IVF, we would do adoption. So our next baby, we're going to look at adoption, I think. We do need to talk about it a little bit more, but so basically what happened is we come home one day and we find out that she's pregnant. There were some signs, and one of them specifically was my cat would not leave her alone, which on a normal day isn't that like weird. Like, she likes to be around my wife, one of my cats does, but this time it was like constantly. And so I thought something was wrong because I used to have a cat, and my cat at my parents' house before he died, he was the one who knew something was wrong with my brother when he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So moral of that story is keep a pet in the house, man. You should. It can help you. It could save your life. Secondly, she takes a pregnancy test, and this is after probably 50 failed, 50 negative tests throughout the years, probably more than that we've tried, and it says positive. Okay, we take another one just to make sure. We start crying. God answers our prayers. This little guy comes 9 months later. So that's kind of why, that's a little bit of our story there. That's kind of why I've always wanted to support charities like that, which we're going to get more into as the channel grows, hopefully to monetization someday. And as far as that goes, pandemic comes a few months before he's born, and everybody was blindsided by this. I was one of the people who was specifically pretty adamant on, no, it won't come to our country. We have done very good in the past about taking care of stuff like this. Well, I was wrong. Pandemic hits, we get shut down for a month or two, month and a half or something like that. We go home, we get our unemployment, we get paid more from, even with how much I made, we get paid more from unemployment. And she got paid $16.50, so that tells you the whole thing about how people get paid and the whole unemployment situation. And that has a lot to do, too, with they were paying our deductions and stuff and putting it like work was, and they were putting into our 401ks. Pandemic comes, blindsides us hardcore. I did kind of see it coming because I'm pretty active on Reddit, you guys know that, and just around the internet in general. So I got to the point where there was some stuff circulating around before it hit Italy that I kind of realized, okay, it's hitting everyone else. We're probably going to be hit if we aren't already. And so I actually did something that we were all told not to do, and now realize it's the safest way to go about things. But I actually picked up 2 N95 masks before they were basically gone, because I knew how they worked, and I knew I did it in case crap really hit the fan, which it did. And I didn't end up using them. I actually gave them to my brother, as he was higher risk than us. And that was something I was a little scared of, because I wanted to keep my wife and my baby safe. But I also understood that we would probably be okay. My brother was the one who's in a tougher situation right now. So months after unemployment, everybody's quarantined inside. We hadn't even gone to the store. We stayed home the entire time. We stayed home until he was born, and then 2 weeks after that, we started kind of going to places once we learned more about how masks work and do kind of help. So, cut to afterwards, about 2 months after, we go back to work. A week in, we get an infection. Now, what happens with this infection is that it was somebody who worked near me, not directly with me. However, I don't think my employer knew that I had a little bit of a direct contact with him. And I don't think I was sick, but I don't know, because about a week after that, I had the weirdest sore throat of my entire life. But because we stayed home after this, I didn't get tested because I wasn't going anywhere. So I had a short amount of contact with him too, and I was wearing a mask. He decided it would be okay to take his off when he was talking to me for a minute, and I turned away, like trying to walk away. But so I don't know if I even got it from that. But basically, this guy at work gets infected. Okay, you know, you'd think normally they'd send anybody, at least in that area, home and to quarantine for 2 weeks, and they did not. What they did was say, they had our safety guy come out and say, "We don't think anybody else has it. Please monitor your symptoms." And so this was the first big old flag to me, and I was like, don't you guys realize that what we know about this, that you can have it without showing symptoms? And the first big thing that bothered me was not sending anybody else, at least even in his department, home to quarantine. That kind of bothered me. Even if they weren't suspected cases, it doesn't make any sense. You'd still want to lean on the safe side, especially in my area where we actually have a lot of older people who work there, who have worked there for a long time. And so my group leader, who's a very nice lady, she came up to me and my wife, and she basically says, "You guys need to leave before it's too late," because they did not want Michaela to get sick because they knew the story. And so, which Michaela is my wife. So we come home for another couple months, and Michaela's allowed to get a few weeks of unemployment until she is on medical leave, which was at a certain point, according to her, whatever her doctor said. And so she was able to get unemployment. However, at this point, I wasn't allowed to. I had to get I had to, because I was on a leave of absence, basically is why. I did kind of talk to some people, and it sounds like I might have been able to get it, so I'm gonna look into that, just because of some the thing our governor did in Michigan, where there were some mandates about how, you know, if you were taking care of somebody who's high risk, it's kind of wishy-washy on the law there. I looked it up, it was really confusing. But so I'm talking to people about that right now. Other than that, we get sent home for a couple months until he's born. So I'm no longer getting paid at all, which you guys knew that. I think I told you that. She was getting paid a little bit up until a certain point, but she only got it for like 2 weeks. And so we both no longer get paid. Obviously, I continued the YouTube channel. I didn't plan on stopping, and I still don't plan on stopping. While I'm gone, I find out they got a few more, like 2 more infections in the workplace. And from what it sounded like, they did not send anybody else. I don't know this for sure, but this is what, from the people I've talked to, it sounded like they did not send anybody else to quarantine who had contact with those people. 3 weeks after he's born, I go back on my first day. Another person tests positive over the weekend. I go back on a Monday. And this time, this person is somebody I used to work with. She had tested positive. They did send her whole department home this time. Somebody she lived with works directly with me, and I did have direct contact with her. However, we were both wearing masks, and it was 6 feet apart, and it was very short. It was about maybe 10 seconds of the day, as I try not to have direct contact with as many people as possible. Basically what happened is they sent this person home, and they said to us, well, I came home to my wife and I told her, I said, how long before this situation gets out of control at work and it's either more than one person who gets it, or, you know, I get it and I bring it home to you guys and we lose our son. And now I know children they're not immune, I know that, but I also know they're not as high risk to death. But from what we know, and from what we know about this pandemic, we don't know long-term effects. There are people with organ failure. There are people with, you know, blood clots. And I'm not saying I need to live in fear, but I don't think it was being handled very well at my place of work. And the thing is, like, I don't hate my place of work or anything. I just wish things would handled a little bit better, especially in a state where it was really bad at a certain point. It's no longer nearly that bad. They at my work, they said they would require masks or they would start writing people up. They never enforced that rule. Very few people wore their mask. A lot of people took it off. And there was a lot of, nose and chin maskers is what I like to call them. Now you see those everywhere, but when you're around 200 people, that's not really a situation that you want to be in, and you really want those people to have that mask on. It's one thing when you're at the grocery store and you can stay relatively far apart. It's a whole other thing when you have to work directly with people. I didn't work directly with 200, but about 20. So that was the situation with that. And I came home and I talked to my wife. I said, okay, honey, we've got to talk, because eventually it's going to get to the point where at work, somebody in my department's going to get it. And we are going to, because we still don't know if this person who lives with the other person was positive, but I'm going to assume they are. And I told my wife that we need to figure this out, because we need to do what we can to keep our family safe. And we talked about, well, I've been selling on eBay for a long time. It helped sustain us while we were basically not getting paid at all through having him being born. And we're going to look into marketplace insurance soon. But we basically made the decision that if it can be done, we're going to try it. And if it can't, we'll figure it out. We'll have to find a different job, even if both of us have to get part-times and alternate or something. So what happened next was that I basically told them I did not appreciate the way things were being handled, and that I think it was time to separate myself from the company, which is really unfortunate because I actually liked the place I worked, and I liked a lot of the people, but I felt like it was the right decision. And on top of that, my main goal was always to work from home and do stuff here and there, like selling and stuff. Obviously, I'm going to continue the YouTube channel, but yeah, so that's pretty much, it was time. The decision to stay home and resell stuff got accelerated. It was something I've always wanted to do. Maybe it won't work, maybe it will. But what they have told us, what I have found out since then, is that the person who lives with the person who tested positive, all they told us was they are not a suspected case, but they live together. So I'm going to suspect that that this person is, I'm just going to suspect it. I'm not going to name my place of work because that wouldn't be right. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It sucks because I actually liked it there, even though I had some situations where I was like trying my best, and it really felt like, and did everything I could, staying late for hours on end every day. It got to the point where I was like, okay, this is no longer worth it, I have to choose between getting infected and probably not dying, but getting infected and bringing it home to my family and possibly killing one of them. I say I probably won't die, but I actually have an illness where I could be considered high risk, so I'm not gonna get into that right now, just because it's a little bit, it's not something I want to share. Yeah, and my son is really young, obviously, so I was like, well, we need to figure this one out, because I can't just stay here. I can't keep coming in here and then every other Tuesday somebody's positive and they're just like, well, just monitor your symptoms. And that's not going to do anything. At least for the one person, they did send people home to quarantine, but as far as where I worked goes, their excuse was we wear masks and gloves, which, we know that masks help, but at the same time, it doesn't mean it doesn't make you immune. I mean, anybody who says that it makes you immune is wrong too, so you do have to still be a little careful. I understand some of you may not agree with the way this was handled, and I also understand that some of you may not agree with the mask stuff. That's fine. I don't really care how you feel right now or what you feel. I obviously have other things to deal with. But thank you for all the support. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Hope you guys are enjoying the channel. I really do. I'm going to try and get some more stuff out there. I know Darkness Ablaze is out now. Champion's Path is pretty much going to be here within a month, I think. Which, by the way, we are going to talk about why that set is overhyped to crap. There is no reason that set should be as hyped as it is. But until next time, bye now.